I'm Iseult, CEO and co-founder of FoodCloud. FoodCloud is a social enterprise that was set up to reduce the problems of food waste and food insecurity. And we do this through two solutions. Our three hubs, one in Dublin, one in Galway and one in Cork, redistribute food from up the supply chain, whether it's manufacturers, distributors, farm, where food can go to waste or become surplus for a very wide variety of reasons. It can be a problem that the food's short dated, it can be misshapen fruit or vegetables, there could be a problem with labelling. For a wide variety of reasons, we see perfectly edible food that is no longer saleable becoming surplus in our supply chain, and we work to rescue that food, bring it into our hubs and then redistribute it out to charities. Our other solution is using technology to connect food retailers directly to charities in their communities. This means that when food becomes available at short notice, a charity that is literally a few minutes away from the store can go that evening. They're notified via text message or through our app, and they can then collect the food from their local store and use this as part of their services. We started FoodCloud because we became aware of the scale of the problem of food waste. Over 8% of greenhouse gas emissions are as a result of food that is lost or wasted across the global food supply chain. And at the same time, there are people in our communities that don't have enough food to eat and struggle to provide one decent meal for themselves and their families on a daily basis. This raises serious moral questions when you consider that in Ireland 1 million tonnes are going to waste every year, and globally over 30% of food is lost or wasted across the supply chain. And all of this food takes a lot of resources, whether it's water, energy, land. We need to do whatever we can to tackle this problem. Our food system has to become part of our discussions and our focus as we try and move towards a more sustainable planet. Our food system is responsible for 25 to 30% of greenhouse gas emissions, and it's something that every single one of us interact with, and that means everybody can do something in their day-to-day lives to reduce the impact that their food has on our planet. So for me, when I look at the resurgence of ideas that are going to help us achieve a planet-friendly world, food is a big focus. And my first resurgence idea is on reducing food waste. When I was growing up, eating leftovers, combining the different meals that you may have had in the few days previously was always something really exciting and something that was celebrated. We have the ideas of doggy bags that people would bring food home after they had a meal out. And also, there are a lot of things that we can do in our day-to-day lives, like preparing lists before we go shopping so we don't buy too much food, and also trusting our senses. There's use by dates, best before dates, display until dates, and this can become confusing for a lot of people. But actually, food generally tells you it through smell, touch, sight, that it is no longer edible. And there is an opportunity for everyone to learn a bit more about the food that we're eating and how to really tell when food is actually no longer edible. There are also exciting things that we can do and get creative with, like using the leaves of cauliflower or using the tops of carrots, the green parts of the top of a carrot, to make pesto with. So from opportunities around saving money, the average Irish household spends €700 on food waste every year, to also getting creative in the kitchen. There's a lot of exciting things that we can do whilst also reducing food waste and working towards a healthier planet. The second idea is around reducing our food miles. And this starts from growing your own food to looking at what you're buying in your supermarket or your local shop and where that food has come from. This has the benefit of actually bringing us closer to the food that we are growing, buying, eating, by understanding the seasonality of food. Food isn't like strawberries, aren't available all year round. And when you decide that you'll just have Irish strawberries when they're in season, it actually increases your value for strawberries. They're a lot more delicious, and it really reconnects us with where our food is coming from. This is also hugely helped when you grow your own food, because you get to actually experience how sometimes challenging it can be to grow food, but also how rewarding it is to see your own food, the food that you've put the time and energy into growing, turning into food that you would have otherwise bought in a supermarket. I know I've heard Mick Kelly give the example of how hard it is to grow carrots, and last year I tried growing carrots for the first time and they only grew to about an inch or two each. This has definitely grown my appreciation for whenever I buy a carrot in the supermarket. I'll never look at them the same way again. And I'm amazed now at how we managed to produce so many long, straight and very good looking carrots in comparison to the little ones that I grew last year. In addition, we do also have an opportunity to think in a more circular economy type of way. So we hear a lot about the need to reduce single-use plastic, and this is something that you become very aware of as well when you're buying food that has an excess packaging. But also in terms of the different aspects of your day-to-day life. And you know, there's a brilliant book by Dr. Tara Shine, an Irish climate scientist and social entrepreneur, called One Object at a Time, and I've personally found it very useful. And it can become a bit overwhelming when you think of all of the changes that you need to make in your life, but I think approaching it practically and looking at one object at a time within your life, whether it's your shampoo or soaps and dishwashing materials that you use at home. If we change one product out at a time, then over time we'll build up these habits, and we'll see a dramatic reduction in the amount of waste that we're creating in our own homes. As well, it's good to send to signal this to our food producers, to our supermarkets, that actually people are willing to move from single-use plastic, single-use products, and actually move towards bringing their own bags. Already we see most supermarkets are starting to sell reusable bags for fruit and vegetables. This wouldn't have happened if they didn't see the fact that this is what their customers really wanted, and now that's widely available in most supermarkets. So by changing our own habits and becoming more aware of what we can do in terms of the things that we buy, it does then create a bigger opportunity across how we shop and what's available in the supermarkets and in the shops that we're in, to help all of us really try our best to become more circular in how we think about the objects that we buy. Another area is transport. And we've seen this as well as a result of COVID. A lot more people using bikes and getting out and cycling and walking. This started because maybe we didn't have to travel so far with the initial lockdowns, but I think there's been a huge increase in interest and understanding of the actual benefits of how we travel, and people really choosing to walk where they can or cycle when they can. And all of these changes really, for me and through my experience of FoodCloud, highlight the benefit of local community. And I think this is something that we really saw during COVID, but a resurgence in our community resilience, in the community solidarity, in how we support each other and work together. And if you think about reducing food waste, buying local, growing your own food, cycling, walking, these are all things that are made a lot easier and a lot more accessible when they're done at a community level. And it's something that through FoodCloud we saw a huge amount of community responses last year when people really needed the support as a result of the lockdowns and the impact of COVID. Organisations across the country reaching out to their neighbours, volunteers getting involved and seeing how they can really help people, calling to people's doors to check in, offering them food. And food is a brilliant way to connect with people. It's a brilliant way to start a conversation. And I think that that's something that I'd love to see continue and actually for us to build on. We work with a brilliant organisation in Clonmany Community Centre in Donegal, and they started working with FoodCloud, raising awareness about the problem of food waste and redistributing any surplus food to families that could need it. But through their increased understanding of the problem of food waste, where our food is coming from, and the impact that this has on our environment, they've expanded the work that they do around food now to also growing their own food and having a community garden and engaging people around the process of growing food and the energy that goes into this. And this is a brilliant example of how when we start engaging with our food system and we start engaging with food and how it's produced, all of these other benefits will come from it. Whether it's a reduction in food waste, bringing our communities together, strengthening our local communities so that there are more activities, amenities, opportunities to socialise within our communities, which then allows us to reduce the amount that we have to travel. All of these things can connect and really create a beautiful and sustainable planet that we all can enjoy, celebrate and live on together. And I hope as we especially are at the beginning of a decade where we need to see a lot of transformative change, that we have and create this shared vision with the food system at its centre, and how we can all create, be creative together, connect and really create a better planet for all of us. Thank you.